look the part, but let's see some of your moves.
Feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but an answer to. Ain't a fixture in the palace zoo. No, and since the carpet nights off me, I'm living life now that I'm free. Yeah, time to get myself together. Now I got myself together. Now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy. The current night is gone. I'm moving on. I'm so happy that it's over now. The pain is gone. I'm putting on my shades to cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride. I'm heading.
I have this because I was trying to get good sound. So normally I would let open sound run and then people could hear it. But then you get so much distortion on the sound. So I'm trying to at least pretend I'm professional a little bit. Yeah, I carry white and black Gorilla Tape almost everywhere I go. Because in a Stormtrooper, you can fix anything. If you have white tape or black tape, you can cover it, tape it,
Yeah, I mean, it's two colors.
Yeah, I used to wear my mic and I'd tape it to my face, so I'd carry whatever you call it, that medical tape. When I don't, so the only time if I have to wear my Stormtrooper, usually I'll shave if I'm going to put my mic on, because I hook the mic right in the corner of my mouth. And Safi's, like I said, Safi's is a whole nother kit in and of itself. But yeah, I suited her up, man, and we hadn't fixed her. I hadn't solved if you read Anthony Daniels' book, he talks about how the weight of the C-3PO's feet rested on the top of his ankle or his shin or top of his feet. And I hadn't really solved that problem by Chicago. So she wore it, even though she wore that costume 5 and 6 hours a day, all that weight was on the top of her foot. So to solve it short term, we went to a CVS and bought ankle braces so that would have a heavier thing to sit on. And then when I got home, I rigged some elastic below the knee so it actually hangs off of a belt. So it's funny the things you solve once I'm just like, let me see your leg, and I can see these big gashes in her foot. All right, Daddy will fix it. So
yeah, that was a great recommendation, by the way. Oh,
great recommendation, and the beauty of the creativity that's involved. Oh, because when you see the stuff on screen, you have no true idea of what they had to go through to get that person to be able to perform in that costume. And so you don't get to know all those things until you're in it and wearing it and marching around in it.
Well, and also like with the Stormtroopers, but even with C-3PO and even Chewie, a lot of those shots, they're not wearing the full costume, especially in the older movies. They're wearing like C-3PO. If I try to take stills to make there's a different suit of armor or suit of costume. He's wearing 3 or 4 different suits in the same movie. So you're like, okay, well, which one do I want it to look like the most? Stormtroopers, man, don't even get me started. The Stormtroopers, our armor's better than the Stormtroopers in New Hope. They're held together.
Yeah, Mike, I hate that you got me into that. I hate that you got me into that, into the TK armor world. Because now I watch the movies or I watch like the new TV shows. I'm like, well, I thought it was this, but evidently it's. Yep. And I can nitpick every little thing now where it's like, great, now I can't watch these movies without noticing the costumes and what's wrong and what's right.
Well, I will tell you, my favorite TK is still New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the New Hope TK is my favorite, and my least favorite, if I had to make a least favorite, would be Jedi, Return of the Jedi.
Really?
If you look at Return of the Jedi Stormtroopers and you look at the Ruby's armor that everyone makes fun of, that armor is more accurate than people realize.
I'm more shocked you didn't say Empire. Because
I
can't stand the Empire armor.
I don't like Empire. I don't like the black mouth. I like, and maybe I like New Hope because they're all left-handed, and I'm left-handed. So that could be, but I like the gray. I like the gray mouth. I like that they're, I just like that. Well, Sand Trooper is my favorite by far, of all of them. But New Hope, it could be. New Hope was the first one I saw, and I saw it with no expectation of there being a sequel at all. Like it just wasn't really done. Like Ken's not as old as I am, but before that there was very few real sequels. I mean, Planet of the Apes probably would be your closest, successful sequels, I guess. Before that, if I can think, and I can't think of any others. Aliens maybe, but Aliens can't really compare them because that was like definitely not for the same demographics.
It was also after.
Yeah, it was after.
So.
I did see the second Alien in theater. The first one I saw, I think on like HBO or something that my uncle had, and we weren't supposed to watch it or something like that. I think he had like a naked lady or something in it or something. So I saw your Alien toys, Ken.
Yeah, we have bunches of them. My wife
I remember those from the JCPenney's catalog and the Sears catalog.
Well, what's funny about it, so Kenner made the Aliens toys, the original ones, and if you want to buy one now, there's a vintage shop down the road from us that they call it Big Chap, in the box, $1,500.
That's Biker Scout armor money.
For just an action figure. I mean, let's see if I can do this. Hold on one second. I'll see if I can
unblur.
Yeah, bear with me while I fiddle with this.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, yeah, I can see. Oh, I see him. Yeah, there he is. Nice.
And that's just some of the ones that she has. She has the littler ones. I mean, she has a lot.
You gotta get her a pulse rifle.
It's funny that you say that because Nerf is coming. I thought Nerf was coming out with one, and I have the template for one. I just haven't sat down to make it for her yet.
That was when I sent away for the first Stormtrooper armor in the 90s. They sent me one of those too, because Missy's brother used to own. He had a Tommy gun, and the kit went over a Tommy gun because that's the gun they used in those. So, but I was like 25 and I didn't have enough money for a real Tommy gun. So I did get the Nerf. I have the Nerf Mando rifle, which is awesome.
That came in for you?
Huh?
That finally did arrive?
Yeah, it arrived. It arrived, and the Darksaber arrived the same week.
Okay.
I got these.
Did you get the Razor Crest yet?
I got it. It's not even open. I don't. Again, I'm probably going to sell it because I don't know where to put it. I honestly, when I redo this room,
I have plenty of room here if you want to.
Yeah, I'm willing to shell out an ungodly amount of money.
I just have to, because I have the giant Millennium Falcon, so that when I first bought it, I had the intention of having a spot for the Falcon and having a spot for the Razor Crest. And then as these rooms evolved and I like displaying the armor more, then I'm like, I can't really like even I was going to get the Boba Fett Nerf blaster because it's 1-to-1 scale, and I was like, I can't buy that because I don't want. Where am I going to hang it? So I printed. Thanks to John, the armory place is getting all my money now. So this.
Wow, how heavy is it?
It weighs almost nothing.
Feather light.
Wow.
And this was just my first. This is my rough print. Like I just put it together to see how it looked. I got a seam. Whoops. I got a seam right there that I'm not happy with. But that what is that place again? What's it called?
The Galactic Armory.
Armory.
I've got that same EE3.
Yeah.
And
is that the new one or the?
This is the new one because it has
the bits in the back and the in the stock.
Yeah. And this thing. Whoops.
Yeah. I gotta convince you to print one for me.
Yeah.
My only problem is I've got that same exact gap that you're talking about.
So what I think I got to do for that gap is I'm going to print it again, and then I'm going to run it on a belt sander because I think it bows because of the heat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to put it on a nice level belt sander and smooth out one and just see how it goes. Because this was the nice thing about these files. These are easy prints. They print. You know, the only thing I do with my blasters, which I know some people hate, I never put my triggers in. Just because if a gloved hand, I've broken more triggers off, so I'm just like, screw it. I'm not putting my triggers in. I printed the Fennec rifle too. The Fennec rifle, now I got that from 3 Demon. I got the Fennec rifle, and that's real because I invited you, I think, Ken, to the premiere of the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
Yeah, and but I knew I assumed you weren't going to drive from Jersey, but I was going to do the Obi-Wan, but we're going to all be going to Celebration, so I can't do the Obi-Wan. So.
Yeah, I won't be able to drive to that one either.
No. The May 4th one, I'm still tempted to do one on May the 4th. Just to see what's out and just watch something. But we'll see.
If it wasn't for it being a Wednesday, I'd be right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tough part, but I don't know. I need about 3 hours of sleep. If I get less than 3, then I'm mean to my students. If I get 3 hours, I'm good. Let's see. I don't know. I hope my TikTok people are going over to see us. I don't know. I can't get numbers on. I have the Facebook feed up. It's up, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah. So Ken, I was going to say back to your podcast, Ken. I really like your. There's a few like Zoe's podcast because she's my kid. Like the problem with Zoe's podcast is when I edit it, I try not to listen to it. So unless she tells me, hey, at this many minutes, can you fix this or something? I literally put a bumper on it, and load it up because I like to listen to it when I'm in the car, just like everybody else.
Yep.
And they're pretty good lately about their sound. Years ago, when they would call from Lizzie's house, their internet wherever they live in Anaheim must have been so bad, the levels would drop. So I would have to push it through like Audacity and level it out and all that kind of stuff. But Zoe's gotten better with her speaking, like her podcast voice. But you guys, as soon as yours comes up, that's one of the ones I enjoy. Because I feel like I know Anthony due to your podcast and his social media. I feel like I know him like I know some of the people I meet every day. You know.
Yeah, he definitely has he's more socially active than I am when it comes to Facebook and things like that. I got to get out of my funk and get back into it because for a while, at least related to our podcast, I would post on Thursdays, Demetrius would post on Saturdays, and Anthony would post on Mondays. So we had this nice cycle of having things up on a regular basis. But I got into a bit of a funk and kind of lost it.
Yeah, well, like Zoe's the queen of being organized. Like she puts out polls and writes and this. She has like a schedule. Like she has a calendar that is covered with all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I fall like I've been trying to get with Colin to start our podcast back up. That's what I was saying to John. You almost need a producer because I stay on Zoe and keep her working, but I don't do it to myself. Like I need a producer of my show to say, hey, look, you guys got to record. You know what I mean? Like you almost need that one person to push you. You know?
Well, in the short term, how about the three of us?
Hey, I'm fine with that.
You know, leap back into career because just want to make sure I understand the focus of it. It's really about the costuming aspect of Star Wars.
That's what we try. I mean, except for when we did the Shakespeare,
which was super fun, by the way.
That was fun. That was the closest to improv that I think I'll ever do. Because John, we just took the Shakespeare Star Wars story. You know, the books. We just got a whole bunch of random people. We called in and we just read it like it was a play. And we
That's
did it,
fantastic.
we did it the first take. Like we didn't practice it. We were just like, let's just people and Marcus, the guy who he was at my house. He came to my house to do it, and he should be a voice actor because he was doing C-3PO and Obi-Wan, having a conversation with himself in real time, changing his voice. And I'm just standing there watching him. And I could barely read like 2 lines from some Imperial. and he's like back and forth. So it was pretty fun because I had like a woman from work did Princess Leia. She never listened to a podcast, barely watched her. She's like, yeah, that sounds like fun, and she like called in. You know, yeah, I just got to get on the ball with that. I got to get. I'm at the point kind of with you. I'm kind of in that winter funk in the sense that I have tons of projects I want to do. My schoolwork's somewhat caught up, but my home, like my podcasts and my projects are just kind of like, I feel like I'm just chipping away little pieces of them, and I got to just like get a schedule and get things going.
Well, it sounds like too, John would be a perfect addition because you've now got him being incredibly nitpicky with screws and seam lines, just like the two of us. So
yeah,
let's make it happen. And we could pick one or two costumes to dissect and talk through.
Well, yeah, that's what I gotta get on that because I have the website and like I said, I put it on Anchor. I got to get back and figure what's up with Anchor because I put it on Anchor and I just haven't touched it. I just got the bill. Like I got the bill for SoundCloud. It's like you're going to be charged $130. I was like, oh crap, I better move this somewhere before they get rid of all my back episodes because Anchor's free, and I hear nothing but good things about it. So now iHeartRadio has an app too to run. I don't know.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
I just get a lot of ads for them now because Zoe's on. I constantly are that's one of the reasons I think for my show I need someone to drive the show because in all honesty, if something comes my way that's good, I'm always going to hand it off to my kid. You know what I mean? Like if I get a call and they say, "Hey, would you like to interview so and so?" I always think of my kid first. That's just me. So I need someone to do that for my show, and I'm just the person that shows up and does what they tell me, if that makes sense, But yeah, the costuming thing, and just for some people that are listening, we're not picky in the way that I can speak just from knowing you guys, and I speak for a lot of people I know. We're not picky in the sense if someone shows up in a stormtrooper costume that is wrong, we are not going to pick it apart. But if that person comes to us and says, "Hey, I love my stormtrooper suit, but how can I make it better?" we will gladly help that person. I think that's where some people get mistaken by us being picky. Am I correct in saying?
Oh, I think you nailed it
100%.
perfectly. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about real early on, related to the podcast. We have the positive leaning, so we would much rather help someone than tear them apart and let them know all the ways from Sunday that they stink or their costume is wrong.
Right, and that's what I think sometimes some of the groups, and there are, I'm not going to lie, there are people in the group that are that way, but I think sometimes groups get broad brushed that way, and they're like, and I always tell people overall it's not that much more expensive to build it right than to build it wrong. Like if you buy a Ruby's Stormtrooper set, if you buy it straight out, it's going to cost you more than Walt's if you bought it from like a costume place. And then the amount of work to put it on,
Yeah, and like the one thing that I always look at least personally, my Din Djarin is horribly inaccurate.
Dude, I love your Din Djarin, so I don't want to hear that nonsense talk.
Look, the chest plate's too big. I've got the wrong thigh plate. I haven't invested in the boots yet. And it's from the neck down, all the armor is the wrong color. And it was the first costume that I really started to put together with 3D printing. So there are seam lines and there's layer lines in there. But like at the end of the day, it's like, I know my costume's not accurate. I would never go out of my way to be like, you're this one screw is in the wrong place by 2 millimeters.
Right.
And I mean, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, I don't care. You could have something that's entirely, it's supposed to be blue, but you made it green. As long as you're having a good time, as long as you're having fun with it, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Well, I'd even go one step further with that. Not only is it important for you to have fun, but I'm going to guess that you're the kind of costumer who also likes to encourage other people to have fun. So that's why I know that's why I go to the conventions and put on my Mandalorian costume and walk around for 6 or 7 hours with like a sweaty mess. And when a kid runs up to me and says, "Hey, Mando," I know I'm not Mando. I'm not the Mando. But I'll stand for 20 minutes so this kid gets a picture with Mando because that's what he wants or she wants.
Yeah,
we were swamped at Steel City. How about it?
Yeah, I'm just to kind of bridge on that. We took so many pictures at Steel City Con this last time, but my favorite picture, it's a blurry picture that Mike took just real quick while I was sitting there talking to this kid with a Grogu hat on. It's my favorite picture the entire time because it's my absolute favorite thing is when a kid recognizes you and then is like they were all weighted with you being in their presence. That's my absolute favorite thing about costuming.
It's also his worst picture because Mike took a blurry picture. He's like, "Damn you!"
Yeah, no, Mike got it one shot too quick before I was actually down my knee, so it just kind of looks like I'm awkwardly crouching.
Well, that was one of the craziest Steel City cons we ever went to because we had Chewie, Mando, 000, and I look back and I'm taking all these pictures and I turn around and there's a Boba Fett with us. This kid doing a Boba Fett from, I think he was from Georgia or something, was up for college. I don't even know his name. And
Fair.
He just
I did catch his name.
Well, yeah, I actually wound up as a thank you. I printed up the new Boba Fett pistol and I sent him a kit. I was like, "Here, man," because I was like, "Here, just for having a good time." I just mailed him a kit, as a thank you. But it was so cool because I'm like, wow, we picked up people and we were just and there was, other than Marty, who's in the Rebel Legion with his Chewie, no one was in a costuming group. It was just 4 costumers and me walking around taking pictures. And we couldn't go a couple feet. It was like
not even. We would stand in one spot for 20 or 30 minutes just taking pictures because everyone was just harping at us like, "Hey, can we get a picture with you? Can we get a picture with you?" It's the best time.
Yeah, and I love Steel City. I would say second to Celebration, and Sappy likes Steel City better than Celebration.
Well, because Sappy gets swamped every time you guys go to Celebration.
Yeah, but she, her first Celebration she was Ketsu. So, but still, I just like Steel City because I like for me, I mean, I like Celebration better, but I like Steel City because you're kind of trapped in convention mode because there's nothing to do there.
Well, we did walk around the mall for a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's a sorry mall, man. That is one sorry mall.
So, what's your favorite time being in a costume, Mike? I mean, John just mentioned one of his. What's one of yours? I think Kevin likes our costuming stories.
Yeah, I've been doing this since 2007, right? So I have to preface this just as another funny story to go along with the girls changing their name. When Phantom Menace came out, I got the tickets back in the old days. I had to go get them the day before from work. I worked at a Chevy dealer at the time. I went home and I said, "Missy, hey, we're going," and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to do my hair like Princess Leia for the premiere." And I said to her, and I'm so embarrassed of these words, "Don't do that. I don't want them to think we're one of those weirdos that dress up." That's just been fast forward to 2007, and I'm taking pictures of me and my stormtrooper. But I think my favorite time, and I can't pinpoint the one time, but there's a lot of times, especially when my girls were little, when they were Jawas, and when the first, when they were Jawas and I was a stormtrooper, there was something about that was just like magical. My wife had to do the hard work and corral them because they were like, Safi was like 3 or 4, and Zoe was like 5 or 6 when they started. But the first time they did Sabine and the Tusken, the first time they wore them and I was stormtrooper, it just felt like a big family affair. Like, I mean, that's some of my favorite times. I mean, all kinds of stuff. The one reason when I started to try to lose weight and I got a little healthier was, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but we had a stormtrooper that was a little larger, and we were all trooping this event. Missy went up and talked to him, thought it was me, and I was like, "Oh shit, I got to lose some weight," So, But yeah, I mean, when there's C-3PO there, when Dan is there and Marty's there, I try to position myself as a stormtrooper so I can watch people interact with them because I love that. I love it when I hand my kid a blaster, and they're like their parents are like freaking out that they get to hold a blaster or let them point it at me or something like that. I've had people hand me babies, which is really dangerous. I don't recommend anyone handing a kid because you can't see. I could be holding the kid by their head for all I know. But I've had people hand me their babies to get pictures taken with and stuff.
Yeah, I haven't gone that far, but we were at one event and this kid had been calling me Mando the whole day, and at one point came up and was talking with me and my wife. I was still, in costume, and we said, "Are you okay?" He's like, "I can't find my mom." So he was lost, and he stayed with us for probably 10 minutes.
He
and
was
then
your
we walked
Grogu.
around trying to find.
Yeah, he was your foundling.
Yeah, he's our friend. And Heather helped him find his mom, and then later on, he came back to the table, and the mom showed up a little later. Said, "We have to go. You've spent enough time with the Star Wars people." But I mean, he came over to us, lost, couldn't find his parents, couldn't find his mom, and stuck around with us.
Now you need to get a crest on your shoulder, like make up your own crest, like the Mudhorn, right? And then have you ever seen guys when they get their own coins made?
Oh, the challenge coins, yeah.
Get a challenge coin in the shape of your crest, and then you can hand that to a little kid, and give yourself a foundling or something like that. It's only like $8 a coin.
Only.
Dude, it's just remarkable. Like I've had this discussion with until The Force Awakens, most of the people I worked with just thought I was insane, because I would talk about it, and they didn't believe it. And then right around The Force Awakens came, we did a library event at our school where I teach, and my boss and some of the big wigs came through the whole district, and they were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe how wonderful it was, and they couldn't believe it was free, and it was and it changed how people perceive me. I'm probably still not thought of as totally sane, but at least less insane. But I was trying to explain to my one boss, like I teach in Northern Maryland, and some of the kids, not all, but I have students who have never left the town that they were born in. And I have students that going to a movie might be a once in every 2 years event, just due to economic standards or whatever's going on. And it is so nice when we can present, these kids can see as good, if not better, costumes that they would see at Disney in their backyard,
Well, now with the way that the technology is and the access to the materials, I mean, you can make that, like you said, it doesn't matter where you are. You can make it in your garage, and it can be just as good as the stuff that shows up on television. And what I think is cool about it from a personal standpoint is when you're done with it, you can step back and say, "Yeah, I did that. I made that thing."
Yep.
I had this idea in my head, I put it onto paper, and then now here it is in physical manifestation. And I get to share it with people who can have as much fun looking at it as I had in making it.
Yeah. Well, the tools are so much better. I mean, it used to be you just hoped someone might have had a vacuum table or something like that. Now with 3D printing and everything, you can go nuts.
Yeah,
it still takes skill.
I'm grateful that I started seriously costuming at the time that I did, because 3D printing was starting to become more easily accessible. So I was able to I was, I would have been 19, so it would have been 3 years ago. I used my tax return, bought my first 3D printer, and now I've got 4 3D printers that I can use to make these full costumes, and it's a lot easier than like Mike when you started.
Yeah. Well, I still, not to sound like too much of an old timey guy, but there is something to be said. Like the 3D printing used as a tool is awesome. The 3D printing used as end all to costuming, that I think a lot of those people are selling themselves short, because the 3D printing stuff is hard, and I think some people, like if they go into even using the sheets of, it's called Warbler, I think is Warbler the but I used 3mm expanded PVC. If you call it that online, it's like half the price. But there is something. the people that can do really nice 3D printing can do really nice stuff with that. Like I said, Zoe's costume, that costume is whenever Rebels came out. That's how old that costume is. And that costume has seen a lot of miles. And I only had to repaint one part because she always carried her helmet right here and it scratched her armor. So, but I always paint the armor. So I always paint it silver underneath. So if it scratches, it just looks like weathering. So.
Yeah. And my Mando Merc's armor, it's a mix of both. The expanded PVC and 3D printing, because there was for my helmet, I wanted a very specific look to my helmet, but for the chest armor, I was like, okay, I kind of want that the Boba Jango style chest armor. Same with my shoulder armor. It's like, okay, I want the Boba Jango look, but I want the Mythosaur skull on one of them, and I want a trauma plate on there. So that was like, okay, that's something I should probably 3D print so that way it's accurate. It's got that right texture to it.
Well, 3D printing has helped in a lot of other ways. It has helped price-wise. Because when I started, if you were a costumer, you were pretty much at the mercy of who made stuff. Like if you wanted a helmet, unless you wanted to hand sculpt it yourself, you had a handful of people you could buy from. And now that's brought all those prices down.
Looks like we got a comment here. How do you all feel about this idea? I would like to print the 2003 Clone Wars armor specifically Fordo.
Oh, I know him from TikTok. Yeah, if I think it's the file. I think it comes down to the file.
Yeah, if you can find the file for it, I mean, I personally, I'm still, I like the realistic, but my second would be I always forget his name, but the micro series Clone Wars armor. I like that, the look of that armor.
Yeah.
And then the Clone Wars is my third favorite, but that's just because I'm weird about the lines in it.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite. Mine go probably the exact opposite. But I like them all. I mean, it could be. I know a couple people with the realistic armor, and talk about something that looks super painful to wear. That stuff is, and the helmet has to have like a hinge on it so it locks on your face and stuff. I'm like, yeah.
Well, it's really funny about it when people talk about making the Clone Wars armor or Clone Trooper armor. If you look at the movies, the armor didn't exist.
Right.
Because they used digital technology to create all of the clones.
Well, and that's why we have a guy around here that has the armor, and he can only stay in that armor for a short amount of time. Now I know guys have made realistic Rex and stuff, and you can trim it back because you can hide it with some of the stuff, like the packs and stuff. But the guys that wear that realistic armor, unless you have to be a specific body type, you almost have to be too thin and too tall for your own good for it to fit perfectly. And those guys, they suffer. Like when we do events, they're usually in armor for like an hour and then they're out because it's not pleasant. Like they can't walk. They can't, the stormtroopers are like, probably the only hardest other one will be C-3PO or 000.
Yeah, like I've got the Hot Toys Captain Rex, and just I mean, this is obviously apples to Card Wars here, but it's even difficult to pose that figure just because of how the armor is shaped. I can only imagine wearing it for an extended period of time.
Well, that's where a lot of the guys will do Rex or any of the commanders in the animated, because you can cut the diaper back because you have the camera. The diaper on even the animated is, it's uncomfortable. I mean, guys size it to themselves, it's still uncomfortable, even if it's perfectly fit. But again, I say this with all costume people: you do the armor you want to do.
Yep, 100%.
And I say the only caveat I say is, if you are doing an obscure character, have thick enough skin to be called all sorts of names. I mean, Revan is very popular with a certain select group of Star Wars fans, but when The Force Awakens came out, all of our Revans started getting called Kylo. And
Yeah. Well, so at that event that I was talking about in Wildwood, there was a TIE pilot. I can't even count the number of people that would walk by and say, "Hey, everybody, look, it's Vader."
Oh yeah. Well, we live in that Star Wars bubble. I mean, probably all of us. Well, I know John does because of all his DVDs. But all of us have more Star Wars in our house than probably whole blocks of houses.
Hey, it's not just the DVDs. I got another whole other collection too.
You have a giant.
He has 2 Matchbox cars.
He also has the movie Han Solo cockpit from the Solo movie. That was at the movie theater.
What? Say that out loud again.
You remember the big cardboard cutout that was the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon? He has that.
Wow, that's cool. Where do you
If
fit
he
it?
lived closer, I would have to rob his house.
Trust me, it took us 3 hours into the basement. I don't think you're getting it out in any robbable time.
I feel really bad for you. I have a giant Burger King Darth Vader that was on top of Burger King's, the big giant inflatable one. I have that one.
How did you even come across that?
One of the droid builders. I was looking for one for Safi's graduation, just as a. I don't know what popped in my head. I thought, that'd be funny if I could get that giant Darth Vader. And I said it to this guy, and he's like, I have 2 of those. Would you want one? And we worked out a trade, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. And I have a little Scion. The box took up, because it wasn't packed well, took up the whole back of my Scion just to get it home. And I packed it up a little better. But it's pretty cool. But it's not like you inflate it and close it like a balloon. It doesn't have like it's like a big balloon. And it holds air. So, we just put it, and then we put congratulations, Safi, for graduating. She's more of the dark side than Zoe.
Naturally. I mean, Zero kind of gave that one away. You don't dress up as a murder droid and then go run around with the Jedi.
Right.
Although I think 000 talks a lot more.
He does.
Than Safi does.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, Safi's pretty quiet. She when Safi talks, you listen because it's usually fairly important.
And you have to listen close because she doesn't talk very loudly either.
No, yeah. Neither of my kids are overly loud. But my wife and I are not. I mean, I tend to talk when I'm in a certain group with certain things I like. I talk a lot, probably too much. But overall, I'm relatively quiet as well. So, but
I think we're also at a place now when it comes to costuming that as long as we like it and are confident in it, it doesn't have to be approved by any formal group. We don't have to go that route. We can just build it because we want to and wear it when we want to.
Yep.
And that's fine. So,
yeah. To add on to that, I love the groups, so I don't want anyone to think that I'm against. I love the groups, but if the groups don't change with the times a little bit, they can become obsolete. That was a weird sound. Did you hear that?
Oh, sorry, that was my phone. I apologize.
Oh, okay, I was like, what? Oh yeah, I mean, I forgot to tell you guys when we started this, we can invite up to I think 10 people on this thing. So if you want to invite people, you let me know. And there's another way where once I know this is like a test for this whole thing, but when we do this, there's a way that I can give you a feed and it will feed to whatever your feeds are too. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So I'm just happy that I got a rainbow background with our 3 pictures showing up in our, I got to remember to move the forces behind because it's showing up in the text box. It's covering the text, but
going back to your point about the groups, I mean, I love the groups. I mean, I'm an official member. I went through probably 4 or 5 different application submissions before I finally got approved. And I'll tell you honestly, and I don't mean to point at any one particular person, it was an annoying process. It was frustrating. The time before my last submission, I actually told my wife, I said, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? If I want to wear it, I'll wear it. But she said, you've put in all this time, you put in all this effort, you know the benefits of being in the group. Just do it one more time. Reach out to some people for some help. And it worked. And I got approved. And very, very happy that I went that route to get approved by that formal group. I'm just saying, in response to the comment about, the art style being a little bit different. If you want to make that costume, enjoy that costume.
Well, and the other thing is, a lot of the costuming groups are always looking for new CRLs. So if you make an animated clone that they don't have a CRL for, costuming reference library, like the 501st, I think, has the most. Rebel Legion has a lot. A lot of times, if you have a costume that's really good and you take pictures, you can submit it to them and say, hey, look, I think this should be a CRL. So it's, I'm with you on that, Ken, because I've had this discussion with some of the 501st people, and I said, and we've had it happen in our group. Some of the other groups haven't had it happen and stuff, but we've had occasionally where we've had people in charge of approving, and they almost are looking for something wrong. And I'm a believer in you should look for what's right and help the person. You don't want someone to approve with a wrong costume. But we have literally had one guy that someone had their hand plates on wrong, which you could know would be an easy fix by just telling him to turn them around. They made him submit new pictures. Like, to me, that's someone who just doesn't understand. Hey, Saf. There's Safi dressed as a dog. This is what I... Do
you want a treat, Safi? Give Safi a treat.
Yeah. Safi's going to give me some iced tea.
Good to see you. Were your ears burning? Because we were just talking about you.
We were just talking about you, Safi, in 000. Yeah. So, yeah, they...
What do you want?
I would like some iced tea. But, yeah, that's where I think the costuming groups have to be careful. It's nice to be exclusive, but it's also nice to treat people well. Let me see
the new Boba blaster.
That's my Boba Fett blaster. As soon as I got it done, the Imperial Army, what's it again?
Galactic
Army came out with a better file where it breaks open and you can actually load it. This is not a commercial for them. But the nice thing about their 3D files, how many updates do you get? Every time they fix the file, they send you the update. So that's nice.
Well, if John will give me one of his 4 3D printers, maybe I'd get some of those things.
Look, I got to fix 2 of them still.
I have 2 more on the way. I'm just waiting for some payment for some commissions, and I'll have 2. I'm probably going to buy 2 350 millimeter printers, so I can print a full helmet well within the 85%. Because no matter how big your printer is, the best print zone is 85% of the maximum print area. So a 300 millimeter printer, you can print a full helmet, but you're running it right to the edges. And I've had good luck with running that. But the Soval is a 350 millimeter, and I think it's like a $400 printer. So, and it has a lot of extra stuff on it. Thank you, Pug girl. Don't get dog pug stuff on my teeth. I live in an insane house. I'm just putting that out there. Safi, we're testing this is not TikTok. That's TikTok. And I'm ignoring TikTok puts so much stuff on the screen now. You can't even look. They're like, check this out, check that out. So.
Yeah, I haven't stepped into that realm yet. I thought I was cool when I had a podcast.
Yeah, I enjoy TikTok way more than a 50-some-year-old guy should enjoy TikTok.
I don't think you should ever say that again. And
it bothers the crap out of my students that I have more followers than them. So.
What are you up to now?
I only have 155,000, I think. I lost about 1,500 in the last couple weeks because I haven't posted anything up.
Do they dissolve after like the?
No, see, a bunch of mine. Actually, I think a bunch of mine were bots or something. Like about 600 of them were bots because I went back looking at who I was following and they didn't exist anymore.
Oh, okay.
But that's how I met John. I wouldn't have met John. I mean, the Star Wars. So the big thing on all social media is people talking about the toxicity of Star Wars fans. And my only argument with that is, if there's a toxic Star Wars fan, I'm not 100% sure they're a true Star Wars fan. They might be someone that likes Star Wars movies, but if you're, to me, a fan is a fan. And I think you guys talked to one of the podcasts I was doing. If you're a fan, you're a fanatic. And you have to look at it deeper than just, like, my wife likes Star Wars. She's not, I wouldn't categorize her as a fan. She's someone who likes Star Wars. My kids and I are fans, that's just me. And
so she tolerates it, is what you're saying? She tolerates Star Wars. Missy
is, she's like maybe she's a closet fan because she knows a lot, because she's been around. Like I don't know, when I first started trooping and we did a 4-hour troop in 15-degree weather with 19-mile-an-hour winds, and my wife, who is very shy, we're on national television, and the only person you can see their face is her, because she's walking along with the kids. And she did that over all these years and watched the Jawas. You know what I'm saying? As much, and she never complained. Because it was family time. Like I can't even. I've probably forgotten more troops than I remember, just because we were doing it every week as a family. And there's not much you can do with 2 teenage daughters that worked us all the way up through it until now and keep going. I never had those bad years with my kids that they didn't want to do stuff with. And I thank the 501st, and I thank Star Wars and all that for it.
So you're saying she's either a fan supporter or fan adjacent?
Yeah, I mean, it just, she knows a lot about Star Wars, and she's like, there's probably things she doesn't like, but she loved watching The Mandalorian, and she liked watching Boba Fett with us. She likes Marvel. I proposed to her with a Spider-Man comic book, so she didn't think she was marrying anyone but me. I was a Dungeons and Dragons, Star Wars loving comic book nerd, so she knew what she was getting. So, but I was going to say something fairly important, and now my brain. So my thing with the fans, and so you guys are the perfect people to ask. So when do the people who haven't seen any? So right now, because of the way Star Wars is working, and Filoni has his hands in it, and Favreau has his hands in it, when is it? When are you? I don't want to say true fan, because I don't want to be one of those gatekeepers, but like when are you left behind because you haven't watched all the animated shows? Like because everything is so intertwined. Like, not that you have to watch them, but that's such a big part of the lore now.
Well, I agree with you that it's a big part of the lore. And I think because there is so much Star Wars, you now have more of a chance to kind of claim an area. So if you say, I'm just going to stick to the movies, the live action movies, not even talk about the animated movies or the made for television movies that were premiered in Europe. I'm talking specifically about the Ewok movies.
I love those.
That are now on Disney Plus, that I never imagined that they would be available to us like that. So there are people who just like the movies. Okay, fine. There are people who just like the High Republic books. That's fine. And I think they're just as much of a fan as someone who consumes all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would encourage is that the folks who are selective are at least kind enough and open-minded enough to interact with the people who are also selective to find out what they've been missing out on. Because there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on right now in the comic books that not everybody's aware of.
I can't keep it up. My wallet can't keep up with the comic books.
Yeah, or even the High Republic. There's a whole lot. I mean, they have many books, many comics related to the High Republic. But I don't think you're any more of a fan or less of a fan if you are selective in what you consume, because there's just so much of it to consume.
So maybe my question has to be reworded. Is it Lucasfilm's? Do they have to be careful that they don't make one type necessary to watch? Like, do they have to be careful that, like, if I watch Mando season 3, but I didn't read book X, Y, or Z, that Mando still makes sense to me?
I think they have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because of what we're talking about.
See, personally, I don't think that. I think there's a fine line that you have to straddle, because you've got fans like, I mean, me personally, Mike knows this. I can't read a book to save my life. The fact that I have listened to most of the Anthony Daniels and Carrie Fisher books is baffling to me. And I don't think it's so important, because if you've got people like us who are like serious hardcore fans that don't consume everything, there's YouTube and other medias like podcasts that you can go to. It's like, hey, here's what you missed in Mando season 3 episode 2, 15 Easter eggs you didn't understand. So I feel like there are definitely fan created workarounds that Lucasfilm can use to their advantage to intertwine these stories.
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself above average fan, and honestly, the comic books, I love comic books, but I don't know if it's an age thing or a time thing. I was going to my local comic book store and picking up hundreds of dollars of comic books a month. Like, there for a while, it was like $60 or more. Just they had so many titles coming out. And then I'd realize when I went to pick the next month up, I hadn't read half of the ones that I just picked up the previous month before.
Yep.
And so I wound up, not getting most of the comic books. Now I read anything with 000 and stuff like that, but it just, I mean, I don't want to ever complain that there's too much Star Wars, because I was there in the dark times when we thought we were getting nothing. So, I remember Bendems. You guys remember Bendems?
Oh, of course.
I remember seeing my first Bendem, and I was like, "Is Star Wars coming back?" Because that was in the '90s. I saw a Bendem R2D2. I was like,
was it the '90s? I thought it was even earlier than that. I thought it was like the late '80s, like '86, '87. I thought maybe I could be wrong.
The Bendems I saw, they could have been, but it was like right before the bulky muscle bound.
The Power of the Force figures.
Power of the Force came out. The second, not the power, not the that's when I saw them we had a Toys R Us around here, and I saw him. I remember buying the R2 Bendem only because he had the third leg, and it would look cool with my C-3PO. So,
yeah, I do think that Disney does have to be careful because of just that there is so much, and I also am in agreement that there's no such thing as too much Star Wars, because we get to pick. I mean, I've read some of the High Republic stuff, not all of it. I've read some of the comics, not all of it. And I enjoy what I read. I enjoy what I watch.
I do book on tape a lot because I drive, but lately I've had so many Star Wars podcasts to listen to that I haven't, I would recommend the Afro podcast or the Afro audio drama. That one is a good one. I just listened to that because I wanted to hear 000's voice, so Safi could practice.
Is it an English accent?
Yeah, it's this will really age me. It's Lost in Space, the old TV series. Dr. Smith. It's if you blend him a little bit with C-3PO.
Oh wow! Okay, so it does sound like a butler.
He was like a butler, but he was like Dr. Smith had that like kind of like smart aleck kind of twist to it.
Okay.
So BT is another one that I love too. We have a guy in Delaware that built a BT, and he keeps sending me messages to bring Safi down, to troop with him, but it's just, it never works out. And now she's in college. So when she was in high school, I'd be like, you can skip some school or somewhere, but college a little bit.
One thing I like about what they've been doing, especially with the Disney Plus shows, is they've been showing a lot more citizens. Yeah. And so costumers have the ability to wear these like in-universe costumes without having to be so meticulous of, a TK, a Boba, a Din, and they fit right in. So whether you're talking about, the citizens of Freetown or the citizens of Mos Espa or whatever, you can go to Disney and look like one of the people.
Like, this is how you have to dress when you go to Galaxy's Edge. I haven't gone yet. Zoe's gone. I haven't gone yet.
Have you been to Galaxy's Edge yet, John?
No, I'm waiting on Dad and mine's schedule to line up. We promised each other neither of us would go unless we go together.
Yeah, Zoe went to California and hung out with Lizzie there, and we had it planned, and then COVID hit, and then last year I didn't want to go, and then this summer, it all depends because Zoe goes out to LA next fall for her last semester, which I can't believe, Ken. That, think about it. When you first met her, I think she wasn't even in college. Now she's graduating from.
That's incredible. So you just called me old again. Okay, that's
yeah, not as old as me, man. Not as old as me. But she goes out to LA. So we, depending on how the summer falls, we might go this summer. But I said to Missy, I don't know if I want to go when everyone has been cooped up for the last couple of years, all of a sudden descends on it as well.
Well,
so.
even now, so we have a friend who just was in Walt Disney World, and she sent us a picture of the castle during the big fireworks display or whatever. They were 3/4 of the way down Main Street.
Yeah.
So even though they're not back to 100% capacity, it's, from my perspective, still fuller than it should be, and more full than it should be for comfort. I'm not in a. I mean, we've been to Disney several times since the pandemic started. I know that sounds like a humble brag, and I apologize for that. And it's true. So we've been there, and I don't think I would go back again at full capacity.
Yeah, I just want to wait till it kind of mellows out, and you know. But I mean, I want to go. It's killing me not to go, but.
So can I offer you guys up 2 suggestions related to Galaxy's Edge when you go?
Yes.
Number 1, take your time.
Yes.
Because it's not a huge part of Hollywood studios if you go to Florida. However, you want to just not be rushed.
Yeah.
Because the attention to detail is wonderful. I mean, they have these little cabinets that are up against buildings and stuff. And if you look inside the cabinets, you'll see blasters and thermal detonators and helmets and backpacks and stuff. So knowing the geekery that the 2 of you are, you'll want to look in every one of those cabinets. So take your time. The other thing that I'll suggest is be prepared for the fact that not everybody is going to be as much of a fan as you are. And so they may jump in your way. They may be jostling you around. They may be, let them go. Let them pass. Let them do whatever. Take your time and enjoy it, because they've done so much. They've spent so much time in paying attention to detail that they've even paid attention to sight lines. So while you're there in Batu, so you're in a park, you're in Epcot, or sorry, you're in Hollywood Studios, and when you look around, you can't see the rest of the park. They built it in such a way that when you're there, you're there. That's all you see.
Yeah, I can't wait to go.
Take your time.
Yeah, if I go, it's going to be nothing but Galaxy's Edge, because I'm at the age where I don't need to go see all of Disney World, and Dad and I are. If the whole family goes, my mom and my sister, they can go off and do their own thing. Dad and I are going to be in Galaxy's Edge the entire day.
Yeah. That's. I just want to sit and look, and that's what. Because I remember when I went to Harry Potter Land, and I'm not even a big Harry Potter fan, but I was blown away at that detail, and I lucked out and got to go to the last year they had Star Wars weekend. I went to opening weekend of the last Star Wars weekend.
Okay.
And that one I wish I would have taken more pictures, because they made the one restaurant next to where the Star Wars ride is in Hollywood Studios.
Yep.
I don't know the name. It's on the left hand side.
Star Tours.
Yeah, but Star Tours, but the restaurant's right there on the left hand side. It's like a backlot restaurant or something it's called. I don't know. But the one whole room was just walls of Mandalorian helmets and Stormtrooper helmets just hanging all over the place. And so yeah, I'm excited to go. I just don't. I mean, I'll probably go more than once, but my kids are at the age where, it's not. They don't need to go this year. They can wait. Yeah. And I have a this isn't a Chase Manhattan commercial, but I have a Chase card that I just got all my points converted to Disney points. So right now I have like $6,000 worth of Disney points to spend to go to Disney.
So why aren't you doing why aren't you doing the Halcyon then? Why aren't you doing the 2 nights on the
I'm not doing You know, that. Okay, there's the one thing I don't like about Star Wars is that thing. I was getting ads for that. The first probably 10 ads I saw, I thought it was an ad for a really bad fan film. I thought it was a fan film. I was like, and then I realized what it was. So yeah, if I don't like Batu, maybe I'll do that. But that was not. It just that seems like something that'd be good if I had like smaller children and I had tons of money. You know.
No, see, I think you'd want to do it as an adult with tons of money.
Well,
because
maybe.
if you had small children, you would be corralling them around.
Yeah, but it looked like some of the events, like they had like the lightsaber training and a couple of the other things. But yeah, I don't know. That's going to be one of those things. You know, maybe Zoe will get a job with Lucasfilm after all, and you know, she's had at least one interview with him, so I can't. You know, I can't. Every time I try to discourage her and say put her expectations down, she always exceeds her expectations. So hopefully that follows through in everything else she does.
Well, she's doing better than any of us.
Yeah, I told her the one day. I said, I'm just jealous of you. You know, people. You know, for her Star Wars thing, but yeah, they. I'll be. I don't know how far Jordan's shop is from you, Ken. He's in. I don't know what it's in northern Jersey. How far are you from northern Jersey?
Well, I'm down by Atlantic City.
Oh yeah, then you're like, but we restored his yak face, so we have to take his life size yak face back to him.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, so he has a life size yak face action figure, and the guy who painted it didn't paint it like he wanted it, so Marty and I stripped it down and painted it just like the actual 1980s action figure.
Oh, that's awesome!
So there was a big 6 foot tall yak face. So.
Heather and I are always up for an adventure. So if you tell us where that is, we'll probably get there at some point.
Yeah, his shop is nice, but he's only open like 5 hours a week. But it's nice. Like he gave Zoe last time we were there one of the Mandalorian battle packs that have all the Death Watch in them.
Oh, cool!
The action figures. And we're driving home, and she looked up. She's like, "This is like a $450 set." I was like, "Oh, yeah, Jordan's cool." Because he let us down the basement.
Jealousy every time.
Huh?
Still triggers my jealousy every time because I know that battle pack and I always wanted that battle pack, but I'm not spending $500 on 5 action figures.
Well, he let us, like, we were just hanging out one time. He said, "Oh, you should go down and look in the basement." So we were looking, and he has the first 12 carded figures in bubbles down in his basement. You know, like all of them, the first like mint condition. You know, his shop's nice. I mean, he has a lot of like middle of the road stuff too, but his stuff is nice. It's not. You can't really call it.
It sounds like a store on like Rodeo Drive where you got to make an appointment, and the only way that you can get in there is if you're gonna buy something.
He calls it a gallery. He doesn't call it a store.
There you go. Okay, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. And I need to have a shopping assistant with me.
Yeah, but
or an entourage.
He's so nice. He's one of those people that. You know how you get cynical sometimes with people. So when I first we met him at Celebration. No, we met him before Celebration. We talked to him, and he said, I don't know. He said, "Oh yeah, we'd love to have Zoe on the show." Then we met him at Celebration. We were walking, and I got a text from him or something, and he said, "Where are you at?" And we were literally like 50 feet away from him. So we went and talked to him, and Matt Martin was there, and we were talking to him. And they did an interview with Zoe, right? And then he was like, you know, being nice and saying all this stuff. And we were walking away, and Zoe said, "Oh, he wants to come to our place and, you know, do an interview with me." And I kind of told her, like, yeah, sure. You know, like he's just being, you know. And lo and behold, you know, her and him set it up, you know. So he's a good guy. I mean, and his stuff's nice. Like I mean, he doesn't overcharge, but if you're looking for a particular thing, he'll probably have it. I was looking for I wanted the Ahsoka Starfighter that he couldn't find me. I wound up finding that from someone else.
Nice.
I don't. That one's still pretty hard to come by.
Yeah, I found that a guy had it without the box, and I think a lot of people didn't want it without a box, and I was like, it was like $75, which, you know, I was like, I'll take it.
That's not bad.
But because we had them, the girls, we kept all their stuff, but there was one brief period where we had tons of ships, and the girls were more just into the figures, not the ships. So I was like, look, why don't we sell these? And we just bought them more figures, and that went with that. And I was like, oh, I can't believe I sold the Ahsoka ship. It just went, and I didn't realize it was an Ahsoka ship. Because as much as people are reminiscent of the 70s and 80s Star Wars toys, I think the best years for Star Wars toys was during the Clone Wars. I mean, the toys sucked because they broke like as soon as you played when your hands broke off. But it was like every week you'd see a character on the show, and then the next week it was in Target.
Yeah, the volume of the amount of things that came out during that time was amazing. The thing that baffles me right now today when it comes to toys, they're not designed or priced for people to play with.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, the example that I'll use is, I don't know if you guys have seen they just announced that they're going to have a Book of Boba Fett throne with Fat Fortuna.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
Did you see the price point on that playset?
No.
It's outrageous.
It's like $200.
Yeah.
And most of the the Razor Crest to me makes sense because it's big, it's a ship that's small with lots of little toys, and it's funny because one of the things I love about talking nostalgia is the old toy commercials where you see the kids playing with them and everything. They have, it's probably out there now somewhere. I know I saw it. There's a video, like a commercial, but you don't have kids playing with these things. You just see them.
Oh, the Saturday Night Live skit. Yeah.
Well, Well, now it's not even it's an actual commercial for that playset, and they talk about playability or whatever at $199 or whatever the price is.
Well, I don't know. I think that kids don't play with action figures. Probably John's age, maybe Zoe's age, might be the last kids that really, because I think once smartphones, iPads, and all that hit, and I'm not against any of those things, they're just something different. Once those hit, okay, here's an action figure, or here's a game for your whatever. It's just kids have changed. I hear you guys on your podcast talk, since you have two toy guys on your podcast. And John, you would love their show because they both worked for Kenner, right?
Yeah.
And their stories are awesome when it comes to the old Kenner stories. But even the waning of action figures when the girls were little, they just became more collectible. Like those Clone Wars figures were nice, but they weren't like the Kenner figures where you could bury them in the sand and find them like 2 years later and everything was fine.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm a collector.
Now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better.